Do you think we need democracy in Africa?
Okay, so for me, the reason I would say yes to your second question, the democracy part, is that if done right, it shows representation of the people. So the people have a say in who should govern them. Okay. And the reason I think it's better is I seen the Ghanaians do it post Rawlings. And Rawlings, even though he was a military leader, he built those pipelines for Ghana's democracy to be possible. So even when there's been a few like, elections theft here and there, the margin of error is low enough for Ghanaians to overwhelmingly accept the outcomes of our elections. Remember, no political party in Ghana post Rawlings has won more than two straight terms. All of them get booted every 8 years. You get your first 4 years. Your first 4 years is to complain about the other guy. Oh, they didn't do this. That's why we were struggling. Then the Ghanaians will be like, okay, fine. We understand that. We're giving you the second mandate. In the second mandate, the frustrations come out. By the end of the 8 year, you're so unpopular, they start going on an apology tour. And then when you go in opposition, Ghanaian political parties, the two main political parties, they know that when you are in opposition, you are there for 8 years. You are not there for 4 years. You're not getting a comeback because the wounds are so fresh. So it puts pressure on them. And this is why I used to be in favor of the 1 month system, but this is why I moved away from it because I saw the Ghanaian example. I've seen the Nigerian example, even though it hasn't delivered the result, but Nigeria is 30, 40 times bigger than Ghana. So it's very difficult. We always have to consider the size of Nigeria and how certain things don't work and not compare that to the Ghana, because Ghana is just one small state in Nigeria, really. So to answer your question, and then if I look at the dictatorships, like a Rwanda, where, okay, let me make Kigali look good so that everybody thinks I'm doing a good job. But because I don't have resources, I'm gonna go fight my neighbor Congo so that I can get some of that lithium to do the rest. Or Museveni, oh, let me attack Kenya, even though I don't even know why he thinks he can, but let me attack Kenya so that I can gain access to the Indian Ocean, because they're tired of depending on Kenya. Paul Biya, somebody just put it here in the chat. Look at Cameroon. Cameroon is horrible. Like, I think it's probably one of the worst. Currently, it's one of the worst states in West Africa for a country with that much potential. Their Minister of Interior, whoever it is 90 years old. Their president is 92 years old. Their head of the army is 94 years old. How do you run a country? How do you get to this part? You get to this part is because when you have a one party rule, you need people you can trust because you know that that soldier next to you, every coup d'etat that has happened in Africa, except for the new Sahel types, have always started from people in the palace, okay, including Robert Mugabe. Emerson Mnangagwa was a close ally of Mugabe. He did the coup. You know what I'm saying? If anybody would take out Paul Biya, it won't be an election. It'll be one of the people in the palace. So these insecurities that dictatorships have forces them to put trusted people around them for more years. So even though they may have good intentions to start, they are, because they want to be alive. The need to stay alive forces these guys to to keep the old guys around because the old guys are going to protect them, right? That's why I think that strong man leader Middle East option also fails. Quote unquote, the democracy that really isn't a democracy, like we're seeing in Tanzania, right?
Mm.
Where it feels like they had an election, but it really wasn't an election, right? And that happens in Uganda, and the result of that will be the same one man rule. The need for, when you consolidate so much power, you take away the need to be, you take away competition, and we need competition to drive the free market. This is why I disagree with this stuff, because I have a fundamental belief that the free market, if you get government out of the way of all these things, And as we've seen in Africa, people finding their own solutions is helping eradicate some of these problems. Because
Yes.
if I build a house in Ghana, I don't even expect the Ghana Water Company to give me water because I know they are going to fail. They're going to fail because they're a bureaucracy. Everybody employed by Ghana Water Company wants a kickback to put the pipes into your house because their salaries are low. So for them to live, they need to feed off the same people they're supposed to supply water to. So Ghanaians and Nigerians are like, you know what? You guys can keep your water. There's water underground. I'll drill a borehole. And what did that do? That self solutions created jobs for people because now there are young men in Ghana and in Nigeria that are drilling boreholes, and there are companies that have imported trucks in that are drilling these boreholes, and they are making money and they are hiring people. And these are jobs that Ghana Water Company should have created for them, but because Ghana Water Company is a bureaucracy and is only there to steal money, the private sector solutions is the reason Africa is even working right now. Let's talk about telecom. Every country in Africa post Kwame Nkrumah's independence had a phone booth on the wall. I don't know if you had it in Nigeria, but I can bet you had it. Chaotic. Where you can go stand on the wall, put a few coins in, and then dial, and then you
We
can
had
call
one. My father had one, but it was not on the wall. It was like you had long cable. You just turn the wheel.
it. You just turn it
Yeah.
true. Then Ghana Telecom, which is a Ghanaian run telecom company, had ones in town like a phone booth. They call them phone booths. Like you have them in London, where you go, you put some coins in, and you can call your relative in Burkina Faso, in the UK, in Switzerland. You could call anybody, right? They had those.
Yeah.
That telecom revolution started from the state, but because they were so useless, private companies like Vodafone, MTN, Zain, and there's a Nigerian homegrown one, Glow. All these companies came in because it was a free market. It was they were able to compete amongst one another. Which companies fell off first? The
Government.
Ghana Telecom Company was the first telecom company to fail soon as competition was introduced because all their mediocrity was exposed. Remember, they even had more market reach than all these other companies. So Ghana Telecom had phone lines connect and towers across all of Ghana, even in rural areas, with the help of the state. They were able to build this infrastructure out, right? But they had horrible engineers because they were not training their engineers. These engineers were just taking salary and not going up to work. The African men will eat the biggest lunch that any human being can ever eat. And what you expect him to go back to work and work productive after eating 10 bowls of fufu or ugali? Probably
No.
not. So these bureaucratic run systems killed. They were doing fine because hey, you're still gonna use them. They were the only telecom company in Ghana, so you're gonna use them, right? But this is what happened. Soon as the markets were open, and the South Africans brought MTN slowly coming in. When the Ghanaians were exposed, do you know what Ghana Telecom did? They put Ghana Telecom into what they call it was a government program called privatization. That was the government admitting that they cannot run anything. So they started privatizing state owned companies because the data was showing that the state run companies were big, bureaucratic, slow, and even at the technological level, they were not advancing. They were being run by stupid PhDs. You know how African men like to tell you they have PhDs? Now, with Ghana's example, when MTN comes in and then Zain comes from the Middle East, like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, wherever they came from, all these companies came in, right? They start to compete slowly. Ghanaians start buying their SIM cards. Then the Ghanaians threw in the towel and then they sold Ghana Telecom to Vodafone from the UK. Okay. So that Vodafone can now compete with the two companies that were killing Ghana Telecom. even with Vodafone on the market, because Vodafone did not bring their experts from Europe and all these people, they kept all these stupid bureaucrats because they called it a parastatal, half government, half private, right? So Vodafone didn't even have the power to put their own CEOs. The CEOs are appointed by the president. So Vodafone helped a bit. They just injected money. It's like a scam. They injected money, but they were still getting their asses kicked till MTN had the bigger chunk of the market share. Then Zain sold to Airtel. And then Airtel and now MTN is the reason why some people in Africa can watch us right now today. If Ghana Telecom was allowed to continue, Ghana Telecom would not have had 3G networks, then move to a 4G network, and then now I'm seeing 5G on the continent. As you see in Nairobi, a lot of 5G. Ask yourself, the big technological companies right now that are making us now able to join the the globe, okay? Are they state run? Are they run by a military dictator? Absolutely not. These are being run because some African countries allowed for fair competition. So fair competition is what has resolved our water problem. Fair competition is what is gonna resolve our electricity problem because now people are putting their own solar panels, right? Fair competition is what is going to put us uh, now give us this same media that we have to where now we can actually host panels like this and talk about things that in certain countries you can't even talk about because the media is still owned by the state. So you cannot go and sit on state television and criticize Tinubu. You can't do that. Soon as you're done criticizing, the guys will be waiting for you outside. You know how this works.
Yeah. And never to be seen again.
Yes, they will say, "Oh God, I think you have to give us a public apology." Don't check you right outside. And if you're lucky, you get a warning. And you find, I've seen this happen in Zambia. You find the biggest critics will come back to the same station next week, and they've become Republicans overnight. It's like a miracle. It's like, what did they do to this guy? This guy was rational. He was at least not partisan. He would praise the government when they did good, and then he would criticize them when they screwed up. But all of a sudden, this guy came and he's saying the government Museveni is the best thing that ever happened to Uganda. Because sometimes it's not even a fiscal warning. Sometimes it's a few dollars in your bank account, and then your integrity is shattered. We're not accountable people, and that responds to your first question. We have to look at accountability as a big thing, fair competition for real free market economics. That that allows us to remove the burden on our presidents and on our leaders and all these guys. And I think that is how we should look at this. We should look at this now from a free market point of view, and that would take away the poverty. I think that would definitely. It's usually harder when you go that route, right? You have to create some type of a social net for the poorest of people. But Africa cannot also create a social net because we don't have a, a database that stores people's incomes like the US has, right? We don't collect a lot of our own data. So the first step is to find ways of collecting data, assigning true identifications.